This is Gemara and Pesachim Daf. Hey, tonight's shir should be a schos for Shlim for Chaim Pinchas ben Malki Yimid ben Kira Imani ben Mechei Chaim Esar Sham Sim Yizel Sar Bas Kinandi Bazim Chai Sar Chaim Saresna Yusil ben Midel Yod Defend the Shavalei Sham Bas Ami Shavik Shechan Valdav and Yitriv den Ben Khan Rezel Lirach Bas Tabia Musha Avram Moshe ben Moshe Esther Yisrael Shachali Yisrael as well as schos Zivag Hagon for Etel Leah Bas Ita. We pick it up at the bottom of Dalim and the Beis. We began this Gemara yesterday, but really this is going to take us all through today, so it's kedai to go back a little bit, about 8 lines up. Dalam and Beis. Amar Abaye says Abaye Trey. Or actually, we should say a little bit, one line before that. Everyone agrees that chametz from the 6th hour, which of course we pointed out means from hour number 7, the end of the 6th hour is forbidden. Where do we know that? Amar Abaye Trey Kroi Ksivi. This is the first of many different. We're going to have many different ways. We're going to have Abaye. We're going to have Nachman Yitzchak. Then we're going to have Rava, all different, explaining why chametz is aser from the beginning of the 7th hour to the end of the 6th hour. Says Abaye, there are 2 psukim. It says in the Torah, Shivas Yamim Sa'ar Lo Yimati B'Teichem. You cannot have any Sa'ar, you cannot have any leaven, you cannot have any chametz in your house for 7 days. Uksiv in the pasuk says, Ach B'Yoyim HaRishon Tashvi Sa'ar B'Teichem. You should remove all the Sa'ar, all the chametz in your house on the first day. So on one hand it says you're not allowed to have for 7 days, then it says you should remove it on the first day. Ha Kitzad, how's that possible? The rabbis comes to include Arba Asr L'Bir. Seemingly, when it adds on that in one day, b'yoyim harishon, it's going to say the day prior, the 14th, is when you have to remove the chametz from your house. Says Gemara, how do you know that? Maybe he's going to say the night of the 15th, that's when you have to destroy it. I would have thought, maybe you only know that have chametz that starts in the daytime, the 15th by day. So maybe on that the Torah would be teaching us that it's also even at night, the night of the 15th, you have to remove all the chametz. That would be the Havamina. So how do you know that when the Torah said, Ach, b'yom harishon, the second pasuk, it's coming back to add on. You have to remove the chametz on the 14th. Maybe it means the 15th at night. Says Gemara, we don't have to do that. It wouldn't teach us. Moving along to Hey Amid Aleph. What's the reason? Da iskish hashabosais. Sa'ar, lachilas chametz, lachilas chametz, lachilas matzah. We have, basically, it's a double hekish what's going on over here. We have a hekish of hashvasa sa'ar, the removal of the sa'ar, the removal of the leaven of the chametz to achilas chametz, to the eating of the chametz. And we have achilas chametz is compared to achilas matzah. So what are we learning? Says the Gemara. Hashvasa sa'ar, removal of the sa'ar, lachilas chametz, is equated to the eating of the chametz. The Chassid Torah says, "Shivas yamim sa'ar lo yimatzeh b'teichem." You cannot have a leaven in your house for 7 days. Anyone eats of chametz is going to be cut off. That is a stage. That is the first hekish. Then we have the equation that chametz eating is equated to eating matzah. You can't eat any chametz, so the same pasuk that discusses removal of the leaven is the same pasuk that discusses removal of the matzah. Same pasuk that discusses removal of the matzah discusses the lack of eating of the eating of the matzah, I should say, discusses the lack of eating of the chametz. And therefore, what? Uchsev be'be matzah, and it says regarding to matzah be'erev teichlu matzahis. You have to eat matzahis be'erev on the 15th. So therefore, we already know that you're not going to be allowed to have chametz on the 15th. Therefore, says the Gemara, when the Torah says b'yom harishon, that actually b'yom harishon is coming to add on the day before on the 14th. Says Gemara, okay, 1 second. Maybe you have to do the beer, the removal of the chametz on the night of the 14th. When we do bedikas chametz, when we check for chametz, ask the Gemara, maybe that's when you have to remove the chametz. You know that it's bumping it back a day, so maybe it bumps it back all the way to the night prior. Again, let's just remind yourself what's going on over here. The Torah tells us 7 days don't have chametz. Then it says b'yom harishon, on the first day remove it. So we're learning up that b'yom harishon is coming to add on to these 7 days. So we said it adds on the 14th, the day before. So now the Gemara is asking, how do you know that? Maybe it means to add on the night prior, which we do b'dikas chametz. Says the Gemara, b'yom kisev Torah says that you have to remove the chametz by day, not at night. Ve'ema misafra. Maybe you have to remove it from the morning, the 14th that morning. Ach chalak. The word ach comes to split up, which Rashi points out that ach and rak and miutin alma mixes ayoy motor mixasai aser. This is how we see that the first half of the day you're allowed to eat chametz. First half of the day you do not have to destroy the chametz. Second half of the day is when you're going to have to. Says the Gemara. Okay, Tivei Rabbi Yishmael Tana. So that's the end of the first proof. One, we know you have to burn chametz from the 7th hour. Is why b'yom harishayin shivas yamim you're not allowed to have chametz in your rishos, and the ach comes along. Ach b'yom harishayin comes to split up the day of the 14th. Says the Gemara. Tana Tivei Rabbi Yishmael. Or I should say better, Tivei Rishmael Tana. But Tzinu Yodalet Shenikar Rishon, we find that the 14th is called Rishon Shenemar. But Rishon Bar Ba'asar L'Chaydesh, for the 14th, you have to eat the matzahs. And therefore what? So Rashi explains, what we see over here is that it's coming to teach us that when it says Rishon, it's referring to the removal of the chametz. And that's how we're going to see by us, that Rishon Bar Ba'asar Yom L'Chaydesh, the removal of the chametz. And that works very well with that which we just said, this is the opposite. One more time. This comes to teach us that on the 1st, the 14th day of the month, you have to eat matzah. So we see that the word Barishain goes back on referring to the removal of the chametz, like we just said. Says the Gemara, that was done very small. What does Rishain mean? Rishain means it comes before, it comes prior. So this is a second pshat. Again, the Gemara just concluded the first pshat that ach splits. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak comes along to teach us a second pshat, and for this second way of learning the word Rishain, we're going to have a second way of knowing when to destroy the chametz. Rishain Demeikara mashma means bump it up a day. Damar Kram. The Torah says, Harishain Adam Sivaleid. The Torah already taught us, Harishain Adam Tivaleid. Were you born first? Were you born before Adam? So what do we see? That the word Rishain means before, prior. So in our pasuk as well, it said 7 days don't have chametz, and it said Ach b'yom harishain, destroy it. So it teaches us that Harishain goes back a day. You burn it prior. Says the Gemara, very good. 1 second. If the word Harishain means to go backwards, Elameata, it says with regard to the Lulav Esrayim, the Dalad Minim, should take it on the first day. Hachenami Rishon Meikara Mashba. You're going to tell me Harishain means to go back a day. So what? You take your Lulav on Erev Sukkis? Answers the Gemara, no. It says you have to rejoice for 7 days. And in conjunction with that, you take the lulav. So it must mean on the first day. It doesn't mean on the day prior. Says Gemara 1 second. So by Sukkot, it's the first day, is the first of the 7. So too, just like you have to rejoice for 7 days, the first of the 7. Says Gemara 1 second. It's the same equation. The same thing we find by Dalet Minim is the exact same thing we find here by eating chametz. And as well, it says so why don't we say the same thing? You have to eat for 7 days. Same equation. You have to rejoice for 7 days, take the lulav on day number 1, and it doesn't mean the day prior, means on day number 1. So to us, you have to eat matzah for 7 days, but Yom HaRishon seemingly refers to the first day. Says the Gemara, no. Imkei nichtav kara rishon. Then the Torah would have said rishon. Ha rishon lamali shema minalech la'amaran, that it means to bump it back 1 day and you destroy the chametz the day prior to the 15th on Erev Pesach. Says the Gemara, 1 sec. If that's true, question everyone's anticipating. By the lulav, it also says Harishain. Visu, and furthermore, a second question. On the 1st and the 8th day is Yom Tif. Amar Rishon Meikara Mashma. So what does the Harishain mean? It means the first day is Yom Tif. What do you mean? It should tell us the day beforehand. What's this referring to? This is by Sukkot. That you have Yom Tif on day number 1, you have Yom Tif on day number 8. 1 second. If this word Harishain means the day prior, so you know it comes out that you have an Isser Malacha on when? the day before Sukkot. That can be. Says the Gemara, Shani Asam Damar Krabi Yom Rishon Shabbosayin on the 8th Yom Shmini. I'm sorry, Shabbosayin Ma Shmini Shmini Dechag. Just like Din number 8 is the 8th day of Yontiv, Rishon Dechag, and therefore it does not mean the day prior. It means the first day of Yontiv. So the obvious question now says the Gemara, Ha Rishon Lamali. So why does it have to say Ha Rishon, which usually we, according to this understanding, means the day prior? Says the Gemara, Lemute Chayloi Shamayid. It's come to exclude that there is no Isser Malacha on Chayloi Shamayid. On Chalamayid. Says the Gemara, Chayloi Shamayid Me Rishon Shmini Nafka. We learn out Cholamayid from the 1st and the 8th day, which means that on those days it's Aser, but the days in between it's not Aser. Again, so what's the question? We just said that the word Ha Rishon doesn't mean the day before Sukkot is Isser Malacha. Rather, it means only on these days, but not intermediary days, not the Cholamayid days. Says Gemara, why do you need that? What did the Torah say? The Torah clearly spelled out B'Yom Rishon, B'Yom Shmini. That's when this is Malacha. So what do we see? Only on 1 and 8. But the days in between, there's no Isser Malacha. So I'd have to say Arishayin. Says the Gemara, it's I would have thought and on the 8th day Vav Moisiv Alin Arishayin. You would have thought that the Vav comes to add on to the first topic. You would have thought maybe it means 1 and 8, meaning throughout the whole way, and even a Cholamayid is Isser Malacha. Kamash Malan, therefore the Torah to teach you Harishayin, to teach you that there's no Isser Malacha Cholamayid. So now we run into a bit of a pickle. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Don't write the Vav. Don't write the Vav when it says, again, what did it say? The Vav said, Uba Yoim Hashmini, and below Hey, and don't write the Hey of Harishayin. Meaning it's funny that the Uba Yoim Hashmini is coming to potentially add on that from day 1 all the way to day 8, and then a Harishayin limit right either. Visu, and furthermore asks the Gemara, Haslam Dechsev Uba Yoim Harishayin, and on the first day make a Kodesh Lechem Rishayin, that it's going to be unto for you. Rishon the Meikar Mashma. Over here as well, does Rishon mean the day beforehand? Again, are we going to come out and tell you this is Pesach now? That the day before Pesach you're not going to be allowed to do Malacha? Basically the same question we asked by Sukkot. That by Sukkot it says Har Rishon. So the question was, you're going to tell me the day before Sukkot is do Malacha? Now we're asking the same question by Pesach. Says the Gemara, Ella Hani Shloisha Rishon. These 3 psukim that said Rishon, one by us, one by Sukkot, and one over here that we just quoted by Pesach as well. These 3 mentions of Rishon, you need it for the following brisa. Tvei Rabbi Yishmael, the Tan of Rabbi Yishmael, Beschar Shloisha Rishon Zachli Shloisha Rishon. For the merit of saying 3 Rishon, they merited 3 first. Lachriya. To cut down the descendants of Esau, the Bini Beis HaMikdash, Mashiach. Now the Gemara proves each one of these. Where do we see that the word Rishon is mentioned in conjunction with each one of these ideas? Says the Gemara, to cut off Esau, he went out first, all red, but we see that the word Harishon is there. So we see that the word May Rishon is over there by the by the Mashiach. And lastly, that was based on Megdash, Rishon Letzion Heinam. So what do we see from the merit of these 3 Rishons, from us keeping the mitzvahs? That is what we merit, these 3 wonderful ideas. Says the Gemara, Rava Amar. This is a 3rd way of learning why you're asur mamlacha on Erev. You have to stop eating chametz as a chiv to destroy the chametz on Erev Pesach. The first was Ach B'Yom HaRishon. The second was Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, that he said the word Har Rishon went backwards. Now says the Gemara, comes like Rava, and Rava says Me'acha Loi Sishrat Al Chametz Dam Zivcha. You're not allowed to shecht on the chametz, the blood of the offering, the Karban Pesach. Loi Sishrat Pesach B'Dayin Chametz Kayim. So what do we learn out? Don't bring the Karban of Pesach while you still have a chametz. So therefore we see that whenever you're going to be bringing the Karban Pesach, which is when in the afternoon on Erev Yontiv, so do you not have a chametz anymore? Says Mar, 1 second. Maybe we should say that each and every person has his own time. You'll have to start shech the Karban Pesach from Chatzos and onward. So if I do it an hour after Chatzos, I should seemingly be allowed to eat my chametz till an hour after the Chatzos. Says the Gemara, Zman Shchita Merachmana. No, it's the time of the Shchita, which means from Chatzos. The Gemara proves this. That Shvis Armi Batechem Me'erev from the Me'erev Yomtiv. From Erev Yontif or Erev Yontif. What does it mean? Again, this is a proof to what we just said. What does it mean that on the first day you should destroy Tashvizus Armatechem? Does that mean May Erev Yontif or Erev Yontif Riatzmai? Tam Aloymar, Loy Sishvat, Al Chometz, Tam Zivchi, Loy Sishvat, as a Pesach. Don't bring the carbon Pesach, but then Chometz Kayom. Exactly what we just said. Divrei Rabbi Yishmael. Those are the words of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Kiva Omer, Inoy Tzarech. You don't need this drasha. Why not? Already taught us. This is now a fourth way of learning this out again. But you have to remove all sar. Says, you're not doing any work. So you're not allowed to do any work on Yom Tov. Havara, lighting a fire is an malacha. So therefore, what do we see? Therefore, you obviously cannot burn the chametz on Pesach. Why? Because then you're going to have to light a fire, and you're only allowed to light a fire for Eichel Navish, for food. You're not going to be allowed to light a fire to destroy the chametz. So therefore, it comes along, the Gemara comes along, Rabbi Kiva and says, clearly, when do you burn the chametz? Prior to Pesach. Rabbi Yossi Omer, another way of learning out, why not? Rabbi Omer, Ach b'yem harish tashvisis sarmi v'techem, me'erev yontif. Does that mean erev yontif? Me'erev yontif, tam aloymar, ach cholak. Says the Gemara, v'bi yontif atzoi mishari. Would it be permissible? Ha iskish hashvasa isar lachilas chametz, lachilas chametz, lachilas matzah. Like we said on top of the Hamid, how could it potentially be that the obligation to rid yourself of chametz happens on Pesach while you're eating matzah? Says the Gemara, Amar Rava, moving along to Hamid Beis. Amar Rava, Shema Mina, Mid Rav Akiva. So from that following story, we learn from Akiva 3 different dinim to us. Shema Mina in Bir Chametz al Sreifa. Number 1, you have to actually burn it. You can't do other ways of destroying it. Shema Mina number 2, Avaras L'chalek Yasa. Like we saw, to split it up. Don't say, once you let a fire on Yontif, light a fire incessantly. Absolutely not. This is actually a very big sugya, a little bit of an unknown sugya. You can't just light fires on Yontif. You can do it for food purposes. You can't do it for no purpose. We're seeing over here, you wouldn't even be allowed to do it to destroy and burn the chametz. So this just shows us that there is this concept you have to be careful when you're just lighting fires for no reason. And those are the 3 dinim that we learn out from Rabbi Kiva. Now, says the Gemara, let's continue learning more about this chiyav, about this isser of having chametz in your rishos over Pesach. Tan Rabban on 5 lines down, Hey Mebis. Shevas yamim sa'ar le'imasi v'techem. For 7 days you're not allowed having sa'ar and 11 any chametz products in your house. Ma'atam alayma, what does it tell you to say this? We already learned. Lo yir lecha sa'ar, lo yir lecha chametz. They're not allowed to start, you're not allowed to see, lo yir, you're not allowed to see chametz, v'chol givu lecha, in all your boundaries. So why did it have to say already? Why did it have to say again? Shivas yam zar leimatzu otechem. Explains the Gemara. Levishin emer, because it says like yireh lechasar. You can't see the sar. Shelcha, of that which is yours, the ataraya. That's which we would think you're not allowed to see. Aval ataraya shalachem. You can see someone else's chametz. Shal gavoya chametz that was given to the Beis Hamikdash. Yachol. That was havamina. Number 1, why the Torah had to speak out to teach you that you're not even allowed to see it, even if it's not only yourselves. Yachal, you might think further, Yatmin v'yikabel b'gdainez min anachri, that you could hide and you could accept a pakadin, you could accept a deposit from a guy tamalarma that you might say ainli ela b'nachri, that you're not allowed to find the chametz. Tamalarma lo yimatzei. The fact is lo yimatzei shows it can't be in your house, regardless who it belongs to. Those are 2 very important dinim that we're seeing over here for the Shivas Yam Sar Leimatzu V'Techem. That number 1 is you cannot see the chametz. Number 2, cannot be in your possession, even if it is not your chametz. Says the Gemara, obviously in a place where it is somewhat accessible, which we're going to have to get to. Because obviously everyone's wondering, what do you mean? We keep chametz. Some people, they sell it, they put it away. Maybe it's put away, it's locked up, etc. Says the Gemara, this is only a din about keeping chametz of a guy who you are not kivashta. You don't control the guy. And he doesn't live with you. From where do we know that even in that case you're not allowed to keep his chametz with you? You're not allowed to have it in your house. Now the Gemara says further, we only know in your house. How do you know you're not allowed to have chametz anywhere, even in your ditch, even in your klaf, or anywhere else? In any of your boundaries. Continues the brayso, and I'm still wondering. In your house, you're ever foreseeing and providing chametz. And not hiding it big dainis. From a guy of chametz. Big vulin in the boundaries. You're allowed to see other people's chametz. Minayin for litin is amar shalzeh bizeh shalzeh bizeh. How do we know this? Because we put that which the pasuk is written by one to the one where it wasn't written. Tamalaymar Sar like Zeir Shava. It says the word Sar 2 times. It teaches like Zeir Shava. Now the Gemara explains. Sar batim. That what Sar lo yimatzi bodechem. You're not allowed to have Sar in your house. You're not allowed to have leavened bread in your house. That's pasuk number 1. V'nem Sar big vulin. It says by the boundaries lo yilacha Sar. Ma Sar. Now we explain. Ma Sar tav batim. Oy mishabay rabay yimatzi bayatim bayikal big dainais. Just like that which is in your house, you have all these isurim that apply to it. So says the Gemara, this is Xera Shava that we learn out from the fact it says Sa'ar by both. Now the Gemara just finishes the brayso, Masar Mur Bigvulin Shalcha. It belongs to you. That's when you can't see it. So do this are in your house. And that is the end of this lima that we're going to learn out with regard to seeing, owning, and witnessing, I should say, the chametz on Pesach. The Gemara is concluding that to see the guy's chametz inside your house, that would not be problematic. And these are, just to point out, these are the two big isurim which we're going to keep on cropping up on us. Bal Yimatzeh and Bal Yirayah. Two different things. One, you're not allowed to see the chametz. The literal sight of the chametz is forbidden. And number two is Bal Yimatzeh. You cannot put yourself in a situation that you potentially could find your chametz. This is really what the Gemara now is going to dissect a bit. Says the Gemara. Amar Mar. Ein li elo. Says the Gemara. I'm sorry. Amar Mar. Ein li elo benachri shalei kivashte. This din was only true by a guy that you're not ruling over it. Vein shari im chav chatzir doesn't live with you in the chatzir. Nachi shekivashte v'shari im chav chatzir minayin. For where do we know that the same din applies? Therefore, that's what we need the second pasuk. First is Bal Yirah. Now you need the second pasuk, Bal Yimatzeh. That what? You're not allowed to find it. Says Mark Labi Laya. What do you mean? The exact opposite. Amar Abaye, Epoch, switch it around. Rav Amar Lo Melo Tevach. Va'areisha Kai. And let's explain as follows. Shalcha Yata Raya. You cannot see your own chametz. That's only by a guy that you're ruling over him. Living with him, and this Tana was looking for a heter, and he learned the pasuk that's talking about an iser. Now the Gemara explains why would you do that if you're looking for a heter? So why would you explain the pasuk the opposite way? Mishum shenamar lecha lecha. That was the problem. Trey zimni, and that's where he messed up. So now, before we call it a day, let's just spend 1 minute looking at a few important Rashis over here. First of all, over here, Rashi said about 12 lines into the narrow lines, Sorry, the fishenemer v'lo yira l'cha. The cause of l'cha mashma mina shalcha iata roya. Avalata roya bigvulin shalacheir kigoy nachri v'shal gavoya mekdisha lebet gabayis. So again, that was the important lines I wanted to show you. Shal gavoya mekdisha lebet gabayis. When the Gemara keeps talking about the chametz of gavoya, the chametz of Hashem, the chametz of the Beis Hamikdash, it means if someone took chametz and it was makdish and gave it to the Beis Hamikdash. That is number one. Number two is that the Gemara continues that Nachri Shekiv Shasai Tachas Yadcha, Rashi says, Tavim Moinai Kimoin Venach. Let's just do two more lines. Says the Gemara in the first one. You would think you'd be allowed to bury your chametz. You don't have to destroy it. Burying it should be enough. And as well, you're allowed to accept the deposit from a guy. The Torah says, you cannot find it at all. And therefore, you got to make sure it's not in your house. It's not just that you could hide it. And as well, you can't accept from a guy. Says the Gemara, 1 second. But we just said it a moment ago, that your own chametz you can't see. But you're allowed to see the chametz of someone else. So why does now the Brisa say you cannot see the chametz of a guy? We just said extensively that to see the chametz of a guy is not a problem. This Brisa seemingly says it is. Says the Gemara, of course, when you're Makabel Achrayis, then you're at some level responsible for it. Then you can't even see it. If not, now the Gemara shows in a story, remove the chametz of the bnei chelu, and then what happened from your houses? If it would be destroyed, stolen, or lost, you would be at fault to be